lovers. I am so blessed and honored to be in a position to share, tools and tips and tricks that have the potential to heal and to bring you to a place of full sexual embodiment. And one of the tools that I absolutely love and have been using for the better part of a decade are crystal yoni products, including pleasure wands and yoni eggs. And I was so excited to recently come across a brand called Wands, Waands. I met the founder here in Austin and I absolutely loved who she was. I love getting to know the people behind the products that I like to use. And I just loved her mission to really support women and men to explore, celebrate, and honor their sexuality. I felt this transmission of slow, sensual seduction in all of who she was and all that she brought to the world. So I went ahead and gave it a try. I purchased a blue quartz Emerita wand, and the Emerita wand is great because it has this like cool bulby end on it, which is designed for G-spot and cervical stimulation, but can also be used for prostate stimulation. So it's great for men and women and can even be used between partners. So I'm so honored to have built this relationship with her and to be able to offer you guys an amazing discount code. So if you use the code Leola, Leola, that will give you 15% off all products. And the website is wands.com, Waands.com. And we'll go ahead and link that in the show notes as well for you. So thank you so much for listening. And also you're welcome for the inevitable pleasure and healing and ecstasy that is coming your way with these products. Let's dive into the episode. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be online with y'all and especially with this one, Sophia LePage.
I'm so excited to be here too.
Back together again and up to no good and all good all at the same time.
It's so true.
Because that's who we be. So if you guys aren't familiar with me or Sophia or our relationship, I've known Sophia for about now a year and a half, I guess. And we met here in Austin at a women's gathering. And it was very much like love at first sight. But also we were both like in this energy of like, wow, we're new to Austin and working through like our sisterhood wounds and being in a new space with women we didn't know. And that felt really nourishing and good, I think, for both of us. And from there, we kind of developed a friendship and also started co-creating together. And the first thing that we co-created together was a podcast episode all about the sisterhood wound and our relating styles and like how we navigate life differently, but still like have mad respect and love for each other. And I love that about our friendship.
Yeah, I love that too. Yeah, it's crazy to think about all that time ago and how much has happened since then. And then moving into creating an epic retreat that we sold out together, Tantric Muse retreat that happened just a few months ago.
I think it was like almost exactly a month ago that we finished it, maybe 5 weeks. And it was amazing. And we have a whole episode about the theme of that retreat, which is the Tantra Muse and what that means. And now we're working with a different theme, which is this multidimensional woman, which is what we want to talk about today and share our perspective on the multidimensional woman, what it means to be a multidimensional woman, how to activate the multidimensional woman within you. But to start, I'm just like loving being here with you and loving like what we've created in the world and love that we get to keep doing that as well. It's so special.
It is really special. It feels that you really do feel like my sister, I feel like. Yeah. Like it's so much deeper than just a friendship, right? Because we've gone into business in some ways together. I married you and Andrew.
Oh my God, that's right. That's happened since we last were like live on the internet together as well.
Yeah, that was such a special moment as well. Being able to witness the two of you coming together and declaring, your love to the world and making it all official, and having been there at the moment that all sort of started when we went on this. The first thing that I went to that you curated was the Friends Weekend.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did a group curated retreat that was like all friends and everyone brought something to the table.
Yeah. And that was really powerful. That's where I first got to see how you work, like how you facilitate, how you work and sort of manage a group and bring a group together and co-create magic. That was really exciting for me to see that in you.
Yeah. And then for me to see your unique magic. And I think one of the things I love about our friendship and also how we show up in the world is like, I feel really met in like, you show up with such range and it inspires me to show up with such range. And I feel like I get to explore different sides of myself because you inspire it. And then also I'm able to bring like all of my shades and colors. And I think that that's like a big part of like what we're wanting to bring and inspire in other women as well with, you know, the work that we're leaning into now.
Yeah. And I think one of the really cool things about it is our age difference.
Yeah.
And how that adds another dimension.
It's like 15 years, right?
I think maybe 14.
Okay.
Yeah, but something like that. So that also adds a different flavor and a different dimension because in some ways we're in two different places in life.
Yeah.
You know, you're just coming out of your maiden, maybe moving to the mother soon. And like I just kind of missed that whole step.
I wouldn't say that because you're very much like you have a very like you're like kind of the mom of our girl group in a way, and in some ways at least. So
yeah,
and I don't think that it's just me that would say that about you. I feel like you've received that from all of us at one point or another.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I really love to nurture the women in my world.
Yeah. And also your experience, like moving through different stages of your relationship. And in some ways you're a couple steps ahead of like a few of us in that regard. And so being like you're like I wouldn't go to my mom for relationship advice, but I go to Sophia for relationship advice. So that's really juicy and I love it.
Yeah. And it's so epic to see in you how wise you are. Like you're so much further ahead in your life than I was when I was 30. I was so not there.
Yeah, but it's like those wild chapters as well that like I feel like make you really wise too.
Yeah.
Like the lived experiences.
That's true. Yeah. I've lived a lot of different lifetimes in this lifetime.
Yeah, which we talked about on the podcast. Like you've been through divorce and like, you know, infidelity and like a bunch of other like really intense topics. And like one thing about the multidimensional woman that I love is like the multidimensional woman uses the dark night of the soul, her pain, her like discomfort to like alchemize it and create beauty and magic and expansion for herself and for others as well. And that's something that I feel you embody so immaculately.
Thank you. Yeah. For me, it feels that, I mean, we play so much together.
We play so hard.
We play so hard. And that's also one of the elements that we brought into our first retreat that I know we'll be bringing into our next retreat is this sort of like the lightness that comes through knowing there's a foundation of depth.
Yeah.
Right? Like we've been into the shadow places. We've done a lot of shadow work. We've integrated a lot of trauma and heartbreak and, you know, disappointment in our lives. And that leads us to be able to now go, okay, like I've released the victim story. I've integrated these shadowy aspects. And so I don't have to just play on one level, on one frequency.
Yeah.
It's like we really get to let loose, indulge, have fun because we know that underneath the foundation is depth.
Yeah, I love that. And we've already sort of naturally started to go into what does the multidimensional woman mean to me and like how is she perceived by society and like how are we reclaiming her? And to me, a lot of what she is this like woman that's either like just too much, like she's always labeled as too much, she's in her full expression and it's like triggers the shit out of people, or it's the woman that's like wanting to be in that but just like cares a little bit too much about like what other people think and is trying to like not anymore and to just own her side of the street. But I'm curious how you feel about the multidimensional woman.
Yeah, I feel that I think this is a common story for almost every woman, whether she recognizes it or not, because what we're told in society is that we need to be in a certain way in order to be loved, in order to be accepted, in order to get married, in order to be chosen. And it usually revolves around being quiet, not taking up too much space, being nice, being considerate, putting everyone else's needs before our own.
Being good.
And I would say that that is actually mostly the opposite of what's the truth.
Yeah.
And in kind of trying to squeeze ourselves into these little boxes, what we do is we cut off access to our true power. And for me, the multidimensional woman is the woman that's reclaimed that power, the power of the wild woman, the power of her inner wise woman, the power of nourishing herself, being well nourished, putting her needs first and saying, I know that I'm going to be a better mother. I'm going to be a better wife. I'm going to be a better friend. I'm going to be a better business owner if I'm nourished.
Yeah. And that's like one of the big themes that we'll be going into shortly as well. And another thing that comes to mind with this like energy of like bringing it all to the table and being in your full expression, being that multidimensional woman, is this fear of like, are people going to be able to receive this? Like, is this too much? Is this too much for him? Is this too much for my friend group or whatever it is? And I had a client just this week that came to me with the question of, how do I share my range? How do I release this fear of being too much? And to me, a part of that reclamation is seeing the gift in being too much. Like inviting in more of our wholeness is great for ourselves, obviously, but it's also such an initiation to the people around us, to the men in our lives. It's initiating them into their ability to receive and to hold more and to hold space for more and to experience more. And then for our sisters as well, it's giving them permission to be in their wildness and to advocate for themselves and to be wild and to be all of those like really juicy pieces that make up like the wholeness, that make up like in the same way our world is so abundant and diverse, we get to be that as well as women.
Yeah. And I think one of the key parts of that is recognizing that in the beginning of that journey, of course, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's so natural for all those fears to come up around, is this going to get me outcast? Because if we think back to the witch wound, it's like the powerful women were the ones that got taken out. So there is that piece of it that's natural to arise at first. And I feel that the more we get anchored in who we truly are, the less other people question it, try to change it, because it's like what people pick up is if you're feeling uncomfortable with showing yourself, people pick up in the energy. Like we're all very much more sensitive than we think. So people pick up this feeling of like incongruency, and then they say, oh, that's fake.
Yeah.
Or there's something off about that. And it's not that the energy itself is fake. It's just that it's incongruent because it's not fully anchored and embodied.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you found this, I know I found this in my life. Once I really like owned who I am and was like, yeah, I can be wild and like dark and fun and playful and light and loving and all of these things. I'm a little debaucherous. I'm a little spiritual, and the more that I owned all of that, the more other people around me just started to celebrate that and be like, oh, I love this part of you that I get to be a little more rebellious because you give me the permission.
Yeah. And just owning the desire to want to be it all too. I mean, going into, the spiritual growth places, like at the beginning looked quite didactic and quite monastic, and like there were lots of rules, it felt like, in guidelines, and it felt like I was trading like one set of rules that were given to me by society for then like another set of rules that were given to me by spirituality, quote unquote. And like how nourishing is it to actually like return to yourself and be your own guide in terms of what does it mean to be fully embodied and to be multidimensional in a way. And as you were speaking, like I also brought to mind this like really deeply shamanic piece of this work as well. And I remember when I was manifesting my husband, I was reading this book about shamans, and like there was like these two women that were in a union and they both identified as like shamans. And then throughout the partnership, one of the women decided to transition into a more like masculine perception. And it was like this journey of like, how can you like hold space for someone in their full range, even as they change how they identify as well. And I had decided I don't necessarily see that happening in my lifetime at all for myself, but I really admired this intention to call in someone or to be met by someone or to be met by community that can hold you in all of your like initiations and shamanic variations, because that to me is like a lot of what shamanism is. It's shape shifting into what's needed in a moment and being able to intuitively tune into like what version of me is going to expand this moment and bring more magic into this moment, not just for myself, but potentially for the other people in the room, in my relationship. And so I feel like I very much got that with Andrew, but unconsciously, I think at the same time, I was also calling that in community. And you came into my life around the same time my husband did. And that's something that I feel that I get from you and I get from the sisterhood that we have, is the sense of like, oh, she can hold me in like all of my shape-shifting variations of multidimensionality, and in fact encourages it.
Yeah, there's something so liberating in being able to be truly and fully yourself with others. And I feel like a really big piece of the healing of really stepping into and embodying your multidimensional woman is being surrounded by people who really want to see that in you and want to celebrate that in you. And once it's anchored and embodied, then you can, spread your wings and take that out and feel that sort of anchoredness no matter where you are. But having a curated container where you get to really practice that in a very celebratory, in a very appreciative environment is so deeply healing and necessary.
Yeah, I think that, sorry, I just totally got a brain fart. Anyways, I love all this. We're really onto something really gorgeous here. And I remember where I was going. Okay, great. Made it back. Full circle.
She's back.
That's the beauty of retreats, in my opinion, is that like anchoring in an up-leveled consciousness or bringing in your higher self that might be more multidimensional or embodied is kind of difficult in like the day-to-day, because there's just a lot of other energies that are penetrating your field. There's lots of routine that can be can take you away from the potential. And so when you go into retreat, to me, it's like the fastest way to like anchor in a new way of being, because you are surrounding yourself by a group of people that are equally committed to that up level and also have codes for you. Like to me, the magic of like every retreat I do, it's so beautiful to see like it's the exact right like participants that end up in this space, and each of them bring their own magic to the container and like make it what it is. And each of them are also like soaking in the other pieces. So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. There's nothing that will fast track you more or quicker than being in that immersive container. Yeah. And it's not just the women you're around, but it's having that intentionality for that entirety of that time, right? For that whole period of time of, this is what I'm here for, this is what I'm exploring, this is what I'm anchoring, this is what I'm opening, this is what I'm shedding. That is so powerful too, because in our everyday lives, we don't have the luxury of that amount of time to focus on that.
Focus on one part of our growth.
Right, one part. It's there's kids, or there's work, or there's your partner, or whatever else. So you're always going to be pulled in different directions when you're at home. When you're on retreat, it's all about you. It's all about your experience. It's all about your growth, being nourished and nourishing those around, those sisters that you're with, and then with that fullness going back into your everyday life in a much stronger and more enriched position to really be able to carry those codes through.
Yeah, when you think about it on the day-to-day, you can only spend like maybe 1 to 3 hours on like your self-development, and
if you're lucky.
If you're lucky, if you're lucky, you get that much of time each day. But think about like if you're on retreat, you're doing this work pretty much 24/7, and that's like if it's a 4 or 5 day retreat like ours, that's like what, like 100 hours. Like, can you imagine like 100 timings the 1 hour that you would spend, you know, by yourself, like on your own too. Like you also have like a bunch of people to help you too. I think that like every retreat I've gone to pretty much has been like, that was like at least like a year of therapy in one weekend, like worth of growth, if not more.
And you get to have fun as well.
Yes, especially
on our retreats.
Because like, I think we both have this fundamental belief that it doesn't need to all just be like the intense shadow work, like the childhood trauma revisiting. Like, yes, that can that can be a part of it intentionally or organically, but what can also be just as activating and just as like powerful for our growth is like letting ourselves receive pleasure and letting ourselves have fun and rewiring what healing can actually look like.
Yeah, that's the taboo aspect, isn't it? Because it's like, so often people think, oh, well, how can you possibly be doing personal development and having like a spiritual awakening if you're doing horseback riding and tequila tasting? And we're like,
let me show you how.
Come along and we'll show you.
You just gotta trust us and find out.
Yeah, and that's the taboo aspect, because it's like, why can't it?
Yeah.
Like, why can't it? Why can't you have just as much inspiration, just as much growth, just as much opening happen through doing something that's super pleasurable and luxurious and fun and decadent as doing like crying on the floor shadow work? I mean, they're both important, right?
Yeah. At our last retreat, there were plenty of tears, but most of the tears were of joy, or were from like, I've never received like this. I've never let myself like feel something like this. And like, oh my God, I feel so seen. I feel so heard. I feel so nourished. Like, and again, like, I think that there's a lot of power in doing the deep, like catharsis and the intentional, you know, emotional release ceremonies. All of that's great. And it can also be like really gentle and loving as well.
Yeah. And I think it's a less known way of like doing this sort of cathartic stuff is the more well-known way of doing this work. And so we're bringing something a bit different.
And I think a lot of the women that came to our last retreat and that I envision coming to this retreat have already done a lot of that base level, like work on themselves. Like it's a more advanced group of women, and like they're ready for this activation specifically. They've done the bait, like they get it, like they know what their wounds are for the most part, and now they're ready to just be in the like, now what do I do about it that's like gonna be expansive and anchor in like a higher vibration for my body than like my trauma story.
Yeah, and I think that everyone goes through those stages. Like I feel that a natural part of spiritual growth and personal development is spending time in that more monastic way of doing things. And really going through the heaviness and the intensity. But on the other side of that, there's a whole new invitation of how to continue to deepen that work, and it is through the play. And I think that what I love about us and the experiences that we're curating is that they do bring in a woman who has like a level of maturity about her, emotional maturity, like, you know, forget age, it's about maturity. And I think that that's something that you hold so well, you know, as still a young woman, you're so mature. Like I never think about really our age difference hardly at all.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's your emotional maturity that gives you that wisdom, and that's the kind of woman that we tend to attract into our work.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. And I will be 30 by the time this retreat happens, which will be exciting. When are you no longer a young woman?
I don't know. I honestly, I'll be 44 in February, and I still feel like a young woman in some ways. And then in some ways I'm like, I'm 8 million lifetimes long. Like,
yeah, there's that piece too, like old soul, young woman, young heart, all the pieces. But that was feedback that we got from the last retreat, specifically on like the maturity of the women there. And I think that that's really just says a lot about the experience itself.
Yeah, and I think that there's real gifts also for the whoever, you know, if you're thinking about joining our next retreat, like there's real gifts in being around women of this caliber, you know, who have that richness of life experience, who've been through some shitty things and come out the other side and become stronger. There are so many codes that they also have to offer, and there's so much nourishment just in being around other women who get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we go into like each day and like the themes, the archetypes of the
Just you wait, everybody. Just you wait.
The first day is the Multidimensional Muse. So we obviously started talking a bit about what does the multidimensional woman mean. And so the first day we'll be arriving at our retreat location, which is
Puerto Vallarta.
We're going to Mexico. We're going to the cliffy coasts, the beautiful oceanside jungle town of Puerto Vallarta. It's so fun, so lively, so vivacious. I've been to Puerto Vallarta probably like 5 or 6 times now. So I'm really excited to take us back. But we'll get more into like why we chose the location and like the villa and all of that stuff in a minute. But want to talk about like the themes, the branches of the multidimensional woman. So as I mentioned, the first day, we're going to be really anchoring in the multidimensional muse specifically. So kind of playing off of our last retreat. And as I mentioned earlier, being multidimensional means that you get to be your own muse and get to be inspired by like the range moving through you. But also, what does it mean to be in sisterhood and to inspire each other and really working on the relationship with the other women in the space? And also considering how does that inspire the divine masculine as well? So those will all be things that we talk about on the first day.
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything about that, or should we go into the schedule?
I don't know. I just lost it.
I feel like we really went into the multidimensional element as well. But do you want to talk about the first things that we're going to do?
Yes. Yeah. So after you arrive in this gorgeous villa, we're going to do some icebreaker activities, because often what happens is when you first arrive, there's that little feeling of nervousness, right? Of like, oh my God, I don't know these people and how is this going to go?
It's the multidimensional too much woman retreat, but can I be too much really?
Right. Am I actually not enough is probably what's going to come up also for some of these women. And that's just such a normal part of the beginning of a retreat. And it's like the first portal of initiation that you enter. So we're going to be doing some too much expression with NLP to kind of like really shed any of those layers of the nervousness or the doubts or the fears or the concerns that may come up, so that you can really let all that go and open yourself to have the most potent and powerful experience that you could possibly have in this retreat. And then we're going to have an ugly off. That's right. You heard it right.
Who can be the ugliest, messiest, wildest? Like, how can you bring that forth? And it's a lot of these things too, like, are so shamanic, and you kind of just have to be there to get it. So maybe we leave it at that. But then we'll have a gorgeous dinner. We have a chef at the villa that's going to be cooking amazing, beautiful meals that are inspired by the place we're in, Mexico. Margaritas for sure.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay extra for guac. It's included in the retreat pricing.
Guac and chips included.
Yeah. And then we're going to go into an exercise around Tantra touch that is inspired by the 5 elements. So again, really tapping into like, how can we explore the full range of our being, like the watery parts, the light, air, ethereal pieces, the grounding, the fire, and using that to create a touch experience that you can do on yourself, you can offer in a platonic way as a gift to a friend or sister, or can even be taken back into the bedroom with a divine masculine counterpart. So lots of juiciness there as well. And that kind of taps off our first day. So then we'll be going into the next day, and the second theme or the second archetype of the multidimensional woman is the well-nourished woman.
Yeah, and this is so important because in order to really truly kind of get into the other archetypes that we're going to talk about, it's like you need to nourish yourself first. And a lot of the times when women come to these types of events and retreats, it's like you're coming from your everyday life. You're coming from having being pulled in a lot of different directions. So the first thing that's really important to do is to get filled up and get nourished so that you have the energy to really kind of expand into the other aspects of the retreat.
Yeah, so we'll be exploring different ways of being nourished and nourishing yourself and prioritizing yourself. So we're going to start with, every day is going to start with some morning movement, and then we'll have a morning workshop. So that first day, the morning workshop is going to be a beautiful cacao ceremony, because of course, cacao is the sacred medicine plant that, comes from South America as well as Mexico. And we're also going to be doing a heart opening, like breath activation exercise. So if you weren't familiar or didn't know this, the positive pull, like women give from their hearts, men give from their root, and women give from their hearts. So there can be lots of like over giving, coming into this retreat from the heart space and feeling depleted in the heart. So we're going to be doing a big, breast self-massage experience that you're going to be able to take back with you, and to learn how to anchor in that heart opening lovingness for yourself in the morning. Do you add anything on that? Yeah.
And also I think when it comes to the breasts, often women think of their breasts as for the nourishment of others, right? For the nourishment of the baby, or as a way of attracting the masculine. And so very often women forget about the breast as that portal to the heart and a place to nourish for themselves. So it's a really healing practice to kind of reclaim like the pleasure and sensitivity of the breast for ourselves, and to like really work at opening that heart center up, because actually over giving, people think, oh, my heart's so open, I'm over giving. It's like, no, actually your heart's closed.
To yourself.
That's why you're giving so much to others, because you're not receiving.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a really powerful part about it as well, is the more that you truly open that heart center, the more you're able to receive.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Beautifully said. They say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And this is something that I really, really resonate with. And as I've invested in living a tantric lifestyle, my relationships have evolved and become so much more juicy and liberating. And I believe that this is something that everyone deserves. However, finding these people can be a little bit challenging at first. And so it is my mission to create more spaces for people to find individuals that are resonant with the tantric lifestyle, that are really resonant with you, the listener, the person who is investing their time into living a life that is expansive and liberating. So with that, I'm committed to creating more and more safe spaces for people to discover their desires and practice their boundaries, to connect in community, to celebrate and to grow together, so that we can all step into a more authentic version of ourselves and experience truly unconditional love. So we have Tantra retreats for men, women, couples, singles. We also have female-only retreats just for the ladies stepping into their divine feminine. We have play parties. We have Tantra workshops, Tantra yoga, women's circles. We've got all kinds of really powerful in-person events. You can find all the details at www.talktantratome.com/events. You can also just go to talktantratome.com and click the events tab to find out about all the latest and the greatest. And if you're wanting me all to yourself, I can't blame you. I also host private retreats for both individuals and couples. Those are one-on-one. You get me all to yourself. And I'm available for private Tantra workshops and performances. And this is great for events like your birthday, or maybe a bachelorette party or bachelor weekend, we can talk and create something that will be extra special just for you. So I cannot wait to connect with you in real life. But for now, thanks so much for your patience with this brief interruption, and let's get back to the episode. Then we'll have a nice lunch at the villa. We're going to try to keep it kind of close to the villa the first day, give you guys a chance to really settle in. And then Sophia will be guiding us in a sacred surrender experience.
Yeah, so we're going to do this practice in the water. It's a ritual. It's a partnered practice. If you have ever heard of Watsu, it's a version of that. And it's almost like going into the womb. It's kind of like connecting back into your inner child, like really letting go, allowing yourself to be moved and trusting the person that's moving you. It's such a beautiful, nourishing, healing, deep, meditative, like shamanic experience. When I've experienced it before, it was honestly like one of the most powerful shamanic experiences that I've had without medicine.
Oh, beautiful. I haven't experienced this. I'm so excited that I get to receive this. Okay, beautiful. And then we get to have dinner out. So we are taking you guys to some amazing, amazing restaurants in Puerto Vallarta. As I mentioned, I've been a few times, so I've got like all of the best places to go. I'm super excited to take y'all to these rich restaurant places.
Yeah. On just a side note, on our last retreat, the restaurant experiences was, you know, everything was amazing, but that was also something that the women really, really loved, was dressing up and getting to go out and getting to see some of the place. A lot of the times on retreats, it's like you just go to the villa and you stay there for the entire time, so you don't really get to explore the location. And that feels like such a shame. So on this retreat, you'll get to really feel like you get to explore the magic of Puerto Vallarta while exploring the magic of yourself.
And then you also get to have like amazing, so fun conversations over dinner and lunch. Like those are some of my favorite moments when we were out eating, and like you know, the women were like bringing their own unique magic and like sharing prompts, and like it brought so much more depth and like sisterhood to the space as well.
It's true. And also I remember us having a little conversation about how it helped us connect so much more to the women as well, because we weren't always just in a teaching role.
Yes.
So we got to have fun and, you know, talk on a more intimate and deep level with all of the women, and kind of develop our own feeling of sisterhood with them as well. So I think that was a really special element too.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be finishing that last night, the Well-Nourished Woman Day, with a very fun wealth activation workshop.
It's spicy.
It's very spicy. We're going to leave it be a surprise, but this is like turned on by wealth codes. Like thinking about like, you know, well nourished also means being like abundantly prosperous and provided for financially as well, and materially, and like rewriting what it means to like to see even like the material objects in our lives or money as something that like can fill us up so that we can actually be better be of better service and more on purpose in the world, and just more in our magic, because we're so nourished and supported, you know, financially and materially as well.
Yeah, it's being well resourced.
Exactly.
Is an important part. Yeah, and oh my God, this is going to be so hot and fun. I wish we could tell you the details, but
you'll have to be there.
It's too spicy for Instagram. So.
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention too is like this retreat is completely different than our last retreat. Like completely different activities. Like part of the fun for us is that we do get to like really think about like how do we want to create an experience that is completely unique, that is like inspired by the land, inspired by our lives, and like what we see possible for a specific woman.
Yeah,
type of woman.
And pushing the envelope a little bit.
Yeah.
The two words that sum up this retreat are tantalizing and taboo.
Oh, I love that. So amazing. Here we are. Talk taboo to me. Okay. So that's the first full day. So we have the arrival day, then the first full day. The second full day, and again, this is a 4-night, 5-day experience. So this is like right in the middle of the third, and this is the second full day, the third day. saying this in such a confusing way. Anyways, is the Wise Woman Day. What does it mean to be wise and to be receiving like from the universe and also trusting ourselves in the same token? So in the morning, we're going to be doing a shamanic movement practice. It's called Latihan. Maybe you've done it before, maybe you haven't, but it's this sensual, blindfolded, slow practice that is all about like letting go of your personality and your ego to be able to fully receive the magic and the wisdom from the universe. And it's going to be a really great way to start the day and to set the tone for what's possible when we are able to be surrendered and trust the flow of life as well. Then Sophia's so excited about this part. So am I.
This is one of the things I'm the most excited about, but I'm excited about everything.
Yeah.
So then we're going on this horseback riding and tequila tasting tour that includes lunch. So your horses in...
Yeah, what does this have to do with the Wise Woman?
Okay, so this may be a stretch, but bear with us. So horses in shamanism, horse medicine is all about connecting to great spirit. So it's about connecting to the universe. It's about connecting to your higher self, to connecting to your intuition. And also when we go out into nature, you know, we're going to be horse riding through the jungle. So it's kind of like you're going on a journey of your intuition into nature, where also you get to receive from all the plants, because all the plants have all this information for us as well. And tequila, in shamanic culture, spirits, alcohol is called spirits because it contains a spirit, because it comes from plants, right? And it's used for cleansing, and it's used for kind of like releasing and letting go of what's no longer serving you. So you could think about this as a fun outing where you get to taste tequila and have amazing lunch and bottomless margaritas and ride horses in the jungle and in the water. And that would be true. And you can, and you can also think about this as like, how do you take something like this and find the most depth, expansion, play, and opening for yourself.
And that's what the Wise Woman does, is she finds great spirit in everything. She finds the meaning, she finds the magic, she finds the depth, you know. And the other thing too is like wisdom, like true wisdom isn't like facts and figures. It's not like science necessarily. It's real, like there's a lot more meaning and lived experience and wisdom, in my opinion. And something like there's so much wisdom in nature and being out in the jungle and like communing with nature in that way, while also having the ally of a horse to be like your guide. And that is so powerful. And then on the subject of alcohol, I love that like we incorporate, or we allow, you know, alcohol into our retreats, because it's seeing that like these spirits, these alcohol, wine, etc., have been used throughout the centuries, like since ancient times as an activator in ceremony. You know, even in the church, we go and we drink the blood of Christ, wine, and you know, and it's been used across, and like witches have used it's been used in many different lineages. And so like that's the intention, and like that's really what I love about Sophia as well. You used to have this like tagline that was like, I'm in my martinis are just as spiritual as mala beats era. And it's like, yes, like she gets it. Like you can bring intention into anything. You can make anything a spiritual experience with the right come from and like lived experience that offers depth.
Yeah. And I think that when you're in a space where you're really in loving your life and being authentic, it's like what the alcohol does, it doesn't change you or make you something different, but it just removes, it's kind of like plant medicine. It removes some of the layers that get in the way of us truly seeing what's possible for us. Yeah. And it can actually be a really high vibe thing. And I feel like in my life, some of the times where I've had the biggest downloads, the most channeling, like the most sort of aha moments have been in moments of pure play and pleasure.
For sure.
Because it's like you're so present in the moment. And that is what creates the opening. And so what is going to, this is one of those things that being in nature, being on a horse, getting to do all these fun things, you're so present and alive in that moment. So you're really able to open your channel and bring through that deeper wisdom for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever I have like one glass of wine or two, it's like, it really, like it can have an effect of like taking me deeper into my emotional body to release and to clear, as you'd mentioned with tequila. There's also this aspect of like being in celebration and sharing a spirit with a group of people and like being in the celebration and the toast of it as well. There's lots there, but we'll continue.
Yeah.
So after horseback riding, we'll have a little siesta because Mexico, and also continuing that well-nourished vibe. Then we're going to have dinner at the villa again. And then we have an activity by Sophia.
Yeah. So in this retreat, there's a couple of times where I'm bringing in some powerful NLP practices and timeline therapy practices, which are practices that basically connect you with your unconscious mind. And 95% of our thoughts, feelings, and actions come from our unconscious mind. They're just sort of happening, on autopilot. And there's only 5% that we're really aware of. So these are tools that help change that 95% to actually be aligned with what it is that you're wanting to create in your life. So this practice is around trusting your desire and manifesting something in your, in your future, like setting a goal, a manifesting goal in a way that really anchors it into your timeline and has it, come to fruition and aligns all of your energy, the unconscious and the conscious, your unconscious thoughts, feelings, and desires with your conscious thoughts, feelings, and desires. And when all of your energy is aligned towards one goal, you're going to get it.
Yeah, I think when like we think about, there's lots of like, I guess like projected ego on like what we want or desires. And like we can feel a lot of like, who am I to want this desire? Like this feels like it's my ego that wants this partnership or wants this money or wants this whatever it is. And to me, what it means to trust your desire is to trust that there's a reason that it's there for you. And it's like the universe wants to support you by bringing this desire to fruition. And if we're in the energy of like, that's not spiritual enough for me to want this or that, then it keeps us from actually receiving the support that we need to live in our full purpose. So for example, there was a part of me deep down that felt that my desire for life partnership and for a husband wasn't like, I guess like it was like too like selfish of me almost, that it was like, who am I to like use my manifesting power to like manifest a partner when I could be manifesting like world peace or something like that, And in reality, like having this partnership has supported me so much. It's added so much value to my work and allowed me to become a much better teacher because I have a partner that gets it and can be like, he supports me on so many levels, but that's just an example.
Yeah. And I think that also another part of it is that often once we decide on, okay, I have this desire and I want to manifest this, is that
mostly me.
She's like, the spotlight is on me and only me. Okay, reeling it in. All right. So what I was going to say is that often when we have a desire and we're in that place, okay, we want to manifest this thing. The universe will throw up challenges in your way of that manifesting because it's like, okay, well, in order to have this piece needs to clear. In order to have this, you need to do this or that to get through it. So it's like these little portals, these little obstacles that come up in the way, that get thrown up in the way, that are pieces that if you are wise and tapped into your wise woman, you will recognize them as the opportunities that they are to get even more aligned with your dreams and desires.
Such a good point. One of my pro tips for manifesting is instead of focusing on the thing that I want, like, cause I know that the thing that I want is like really like just on the other side of the veil, I'll focus on like, what is the like lesson that I need to learn or the thing that I need to let go of or whatever to get that thing? Like, and then it shifts the perspective so that we're not in the frustration of why haven't I received the thing? I've done like the manifestation ritual to get it. It's like, oh, now my eyes are peeled for the initiation that's going to bring me that thing or bring me to be able to actually receive it, for example.
Love that.
So last full day. Day 4, we have the wild woman is the theme. I love this. This day is going to be fucking wild.
Last retreat, we had it built towards a crescendo. And by the end of the last night, the women were so high on life. It was great. We were high on life also.
It was wild.
It was really wild. And that's exactly what we're doing this time too. We're building the retreat to this beautiful crescendo that happens on this day.
Yeah. So we'll be starting the day, as always, with morning movement. And then we get to explore embodying like the full sensuality and sexuality and like rawness of the wild woman by doing a photo shoot. So oftentimes I feel like when you do photo shoots, like it's like, you know, being in this like really pretty, like put together perfection space. And the invitation that I'm coming forth with this photo shoot is like, bring your wildness, like bring your like messy, your crazy, and like let it be seen. And also see that it's like kind of hot. Like it's kind of sexy to be like, you're like messy hair on the beach, sands all over, hair is fucked up. Like you're wet, you're wild. And like, look how fucking hot it is to be that as well.
Yeah, that reminds me of a time with Gabriel, my husband, where I said to him, I want you to witness me in my full range, and I want to just totally let loose emotionally and like scream and rage and be like messy and ugly, and I just want you to witness it. So obviously like I prepped him for this, and he was like, yes, okay, I'm ready. So he sat on a chair and just watched me, and I just went full bore of, I wasn't, you know, directing it at him, I was just expressing. And at the end he was like, that is so hot. And actually when we did that, we've done this ugly off before that we're doing on day 1. When we did that, all the men were like, oh my God, this is so hot.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. So the ugly off will be doing the first day as a way to tap in, but it is this like reclaiming like what it means to be like a woman worthy of like love and adoration and beauty, like, you know. So I'm really excited about these photo shoots, and the last time the photo shoots were so fun and we got like some really beautiful shots. Yeah, and I think it will be it's going to really tie everything. It's going to kind of bring a lot of the principles that we've been working with on the retreat are going to get sort of anchored in and in this photo shoot. And just like last time, the photo shoot was an opportunity for the women to express this new layer and depth of their embodiment that they'd experienced on the retreat. So it was very powerful. And then afterwards you get a photo, and that gets to be your reminder of like what you opened and anchored into on the retreat, which is really powerful. Fuck yes.
And then we're going to have lunch at the villa, and then
we are going out on a boat on the water and getting fucking wild.
Yeah.
We're going to be twerking on the deck. We're going to be having some drinks. We're going to be swimming in the water with the fishies.
Yeah.
We're getting our sunset.
Yeah. Sunset vibes. Just letting loose, having fun, playing, celebrating, like feeling all the appreciation for our lives, for this moment, for the gift that, you know, that you've given yourself by bringing yourself here, the friendships that you've come to really have. By this point, you're all going to feel like sisters. You're going to have made lifelong friends. So it's basically going to be like a big party with all your favorite people. By
Graduation.
Yeah.
Graduation boat tour.
Yeah.
Sorts. I love it. Okay, cool. And so that's kind of the last day, but there's more. So we obviously have dinner that night, and then we're ending with a little BDSM/kink workshop. Yeah. And the funny thing about this is that the last retreat, as we mentioned, like by the last night, like things were wild and crazy and fun. And I just had happened to bring like a couple of my like flogs and like paddles, and I had them on our altar at our retreat. Like we weren't doing anything with them in a structured way, but on the last night, the women started like getting them out and playing with them. And like, I was like, oh, like, do you guys want to know some tools for how to like communicate and to like explore BDSM and conscious kink and impact play safely? And like, so a small group of us, I kind of like guided through that, and we had like a little spank off, and it was just so fun. And so, and it's another expression of like, you know, letting someone be in their expression and their wildness, and like doing something that's taboo, but doing it in a way that feels like nourishing and safe at the same time. Like to me, that's so much about what the wildness is. Like you had mentioned with Gabriel, like you got consent and you communicated, and like it was, but then you were able to actually like go all the way there without any fear or reservation because you knew that you could. Right. And so like that's a big piece of the wildness to me. It's not like the chaotic, like feminine that's like a fucking mess and is projecting all over people. It's about like creating, you know, intention and safe spaces for this stuff to come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Oh, wow.
And then our final day.
Yeah. Integration and celebration day. So our last, for the Tantric Muse retreat, we did this beautiful initiation ceremony where we gifted the women necklaces and we bowed at their feet, and we curated a song for them that we felt was an expression of who they are and who they had stepped into as this muse. And then they got to dance and then share about that. So, and it was beautiful, and we all cried. Tears of joy. It was amazing. This time we'll be doing something different, but equally as beautiful.
And activating.
A
different initiation of sorts. And it is a surprise. It's a surprise send off. But on that note, we mentioned that last time we gave women necklaces and they got robes and they got other little goodies and gifts throughout the weekend. And that's definitely going to be a part of this retreat as well. Different things that are on theme to look forward to.
Yeah, different gifts. It's really just the whole thing is really going to push your edges in terms of how much amazingness you can actually receive.
Yep.
Like how much can you be a yes to your life and the magic of your life?
Yep.
And expanding your range, which is really what the multidimensional woman is all about, is about being in your full expression, which is about being in your full range. And one of those pieces is pleasure and fun and play.
Yeah, and we get to do it in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, which is such a fun, special, just like stunningly beautiful place. Like beautiful, cliffy coastline on the jungle, like gorgeous beaches, little islands off the coast. And we're going to be staying in like a huge spacious villa where you can walk to the beach, but we also have like a private pool and like 14 bedrooms and lots of little loungy areas. And it's very like Mexican as well. It's like very colorful and bright and like just, it's just very like expressive, which I think really is in alignment with the theme of the multidimensional muse as well. Yeah,
and like I think like almost every room has like ocean views, and so and there will be time as well. We spoke about it a little bit, like siesta time or whatever. There'll be time to go and head to the beach, or like read a book by the pool, or lounge around, or do whatever. Get to explore and enjoy the villa as well, which is really great. And it's fully staffed, and we have a chef, and we'll be having delicious food when we're not out being decadent in other places.
Yeah, and a cleaning lady and all kinds of really great things. We love that. Yeah, and to me, part of the reason for choosing Puerto Vallarta as well was like this like diversity of life that's happening there with the water and the jungle and all those pieces as well. And I also want to say too that like yeah, like we made this retreat like a full day longer than the last one because we wanted to have even more spaciousness for you guys to really anchor in these pieces, which I'm really excited about. I'm also like, the last retreat we were like, we didn't want to leave after the third day. And I don't think it's going to be any different this time.
I don't think so.
But also I want to just highlight that everything on the retreat, as well as at choice, like we're going to be offering lots of suggestions and like, you know, there's going to be lots of different workshops, but like you get to decide the level of participation that you want to take part in everything. And a lot of the activation is just being in the energy as well. So I just wanted to name that too.
Yeah, I think that that's really powerful. And on our last retreat, sometimes some women did opt out of certain rituals, and that we also really trust, you know, your inner knowing of what is going to expand you, like push your edge a little bit and expand you, or what is just a little bit too far.
What's a boundary?
Yeah, what's a boundary and what's expansion. And I think that there's something really powerful about deciding that for yourself and really standing in that, and you'll always be honored and celebrated in your choice, no matter what your choice is by us.
Yeah, this is not a training. This is a retreat. And I think that like, if you left the retreat feeling like you honored yourself through the entire thing, no matter what that looked like, to me, that would be like the biggest success, you know? So, I think that we're both like the type of individuals where we're like, trust yourself, do what feels good for you. This is not a space where like we're going to be coercing, or there's not going to be any groupthink. And I think that that's just a good thing to mention as well. Okay. So with that being said, who is this for?
So we talked a little bit about the too much woman, right? So you may have been that little girl that was told to be less dramatic, you know, calm down, be more quiet, like be a good girl, do what you're told, and felt like your expression was just too much. Like there was something wrong with the amount that you feel, the amount that you see, the amount that you hold, the amount that you're aware of, and tampering down your knowing or your expression because of that. So this is for you, because this is the place where you get to play full out and be absolutely seen and celebrated and appreciated for your too muchness, which is actually just the right amount.
In fact, in the end,
it's not too much at all.
With the right people, it is exactly right.
Yeah.
This is for the woman that's like done with the small talk, really wants true depth, wants to go there, is like really like excited about like exploring her edges, and also like, you know, voicing her desires and being like in her like prime essence as well, and being surrounded by other women that are just as committed to that too.
Yeah. And for the woman who has, you know, done, we mentioned this earlier, done some of that deeper work, and is in that space of like, okay, I've done the shadow work. I've understood my trauma. I've like worked with clearing a lot of things. I've gone monastic. Now I want to play and have fun. And I want that to be my next level of expansion. And I want to be around other women who really want to celebrate the full range of life with me.
Yeah, I love that. And for the women as well that are like constantly giving, or just like don't feel met by the other like women in their lives, or just want to be in a space where they can just fully receive and be nourished and celebrated by us and each other. Yeah,
this is for you if you really, what it appeals to you is having an experience that's fully catered and curated, that you just get to come and relax and receive and know that every aspect of this retreat is taken care of. All you have to do is get yourself there and get yourself home. Yeah. If that feels nourishing to you, if that feels like, oh, what a sigh of relief to you, then this is the retreat for you.
Yeah, and we are just so excited to bring this to y'all. Mm-hmm. And we have some options for you in terms of like how you want to participate in this. So we have, if you want a private room, you can have a private room. If you would like to share the experience with another woman, with another sister, we have some options to, have your own bed, but still share a room. And we also have some early bird pricing for the first ladies that jump into this experience. So if you're super interested in this, we highly recommend you apply as soon as possible to lock in that early bird pricing.
Yeah. And also just to say on the shared room, you don't need to necessarily know another woman who's going to share that room with you. You can just come in as, one person booking, and then we'll match you with a woman that we feel like would be a really good fit to share a room with you.
Yep. That's how best friendships are formed.
That's
we love it. Yeah. And that's the thing too, with this time of year when it's like, there's so many things that like, it's really, it feels really juicy to want to take advantage of all these deals. And we're very much in the energy of what's going to be the best investment in you. And just going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, to me, retreats have such a high return in investment, because you're literally jumping onto a new timeline of being.
Yeah. And retreats are beautiful too, because it's not only are you getting that return on investment in yourself, but it's the best way to really take a vacation, because normally a vacation is just, you're just going somewhere and it's cool and it's fun.
Yeah.
But this is you get to expand and, grow and jump onto a higher timeline, and you get to have all the best aspects of going on the most epic vacation as well. So it's kind of you get to kill two birds with one stone. Terrible analogy, but you get what I'm saying, right? So the link, where are we going to put that?
You can DM us directly for the link. We'll also be putting it in our stories and all those things here shortly. You can find it immediately by just going to my website, but feel free to DM either of us. And have a sexy and spiritual day. Much love.